Well, there was some rather interesting news last week. So, for the benefit of those of you outside of the UK, we've just had an election and a change of government. Our country is now led by the Labour Party under Sir Keir Starmer. Now, I know nobody watches this channel for the political insight of a train nerd, so most of what that means is outside the scope of this video. But what is very relevant is that Britain's railways are to be renationalised. So here's a hastily thrown together video with my thoughts on the subject. At present, the railways are privatised and have been since 1997. And I think it's fair to say that things have not worked entirely as promised. The theory is that market forces and competition would make for a better service. In practice, no. There are lots of reasons for this. One was that the way they did things was incredibly complicated. You had one organisation who had the actual railway, a whole bunch of other companies who ran the railway, another bunch of companies who owned the actual trains that they leased to the companies who ran the railway, and a whole parcel of other factors just to get our train from A to B. The rail franchise was allocated based on short terms, which meant that there was no real motivation to make long-term improvements. And there was no real coordination. I'm really oversimplifying things here, but if you've used the railways in Britain, you'll know exactly what's wrong with the network. From a passenger standpoint, at least. Poor services, low staff morale, insanely high ticket prices, and unwillingness to invest. YouGov polls in recent years have shown an increasing public desire for renationalisation. Now, I'm not going to claim that things were perfect under British Rail, they certainly were not. The network was often attacked for being run down, outdated, and inefficient. If you've watched this channel for any length of time, you'll know that there was never a golden age of railways. But it is worth noting that towards the end, certain sectors of British Rail were not only greatly improved, but actually profitable. Intercity was, and I believe I'm right in saying that Network South East was, don't take my word for it. British Railways was not welcomed by a lot of the staff back in 1948, the first round of nationalisation. In fact, nationalisation was what drove my great-granddad, who was a station master at the time, to retire. He considered it to be the death of the railway industry. Now it's seemingly the opposite. The unions have come out strongly in favour of renationalisation, and I think it's fair to say that there's more of a drive among people on the shop floor, as it were, to make it work. That being said, I have spoken to a number of rail professionals, that number being 3, and there are some reservations. One argument I was presented with was that many of the current problems aren't really down to management, but simply the age and capacity of the network. This is a fair point. At present, quite a lot of the national network is already nationalised, under what is known as the operator of last resort model. This is what happens when a rail franchisee makes such an unbelievable bosh of everything that the government has to step in and take it away. ScotRail, Transport for Wales, LNER and South East Trains are all examples of this. The model for nationalisation is going to be, in essence, a variation of that. As each of the current franchises ends, the government will take control. The whole thing is to be coordinated by an organisation called Great British Railways, which was an initiative begun under the previous government. Good idea, stupid name. It sounds Victorian. I should note that this isn't total renationalisation as it was in 1948. The rail freight franchises are to stay in private ownership. I understand the open access rail operators like Lumo will continue as is for the time being. And this renationalised network will not actually own its own trains, which has always seemed like an unnecessary and costly complication to me, even if it does save money in the short term. So here's what I'm hoping for. Firstly, we need to drop the idea of railways as a profit generator. Most railways don't make money. Their value is in what they do for society and the economy. They open up job opportunities by making it easier to commute. They reduce congestion. They reduce pollution. They connect communities. Now, I'm not saying this means that they should aim to lose money or be wasteful, but where they do make a profit, that should be invested back into the service, as is the case with Transport for London. The for-profit model is based on the bottom line, and what that means, all too often, is that services are pared down to lower expenditure rather than improved to attract customers. Tied into this, investment. I could point out several instances, and I often do on this channel, where investment in a railway makes it more attractive to passengers and thus makes it more cost-effective, even profitable. Let me reel off the Manchester Metrolink, the London Overground, the Docklands Light Railway, the Croydon Tramlink. Any government that is serious about levelling the whole country up needs to make investment in public transport a key part of their policy. Stop thinking in terms of short-term losses, start thinking in terms of long-term gains. Lower fares would be nice, but I don't know how practical that is at the moment. We should also invest in rail technology. Something a privatised rail operator is working on at the moment is Great Western's fast charge technology, which potentially offers short branch lines the advantages of electrification at a fraction of the cost. This and other technologies could not only improve the British rail network, but be sold overseas. As part of this investment, and this is more of a long-term thing because it is a pretty big undertaking, I think we should have an organisation that's dedicated to infrastructure improvements. One of the reasons it's so hard to get new railways built is because we have to basically assemble all the people and equipment from scratch every time. That increases the costs and the time needed to get anything done, which in turn makes new railways unattractive to governments. I believe we should do what many other countries do and have a permanent organisation with the skills, personnel and equipment already in place. Such an organisation would provide long-term employment and training which serves the wider economy. With a strong base of skills and equipment, perhaps we could farm this organisation out on other engineering projects, again, in this country and overseas. And finally, and most importantly, I believe that the head of Great British Railways should be known by the official title of the Fat Controller. Now, I don't believe that renationalisation is the magical solution to all the problems with the British rail network. It will take a long time to make a difference. But we are in a better place this time around. When British Railways was formed in 1948, it had a lot of excess baggage with things like ferries, hotels, catering, and all those other things that are better handled by outside companies, which they now are. And it goes without saying that technology has dramatically improved, which means that there are many things we can now do more cheaply without compromising services. All in all, we'll see how this goes. It might work, it might not. But I think we have this tendency in this country to dismiss ideas on the basis that they might not work, even if what we're currently doing definitely does not work. Nationalisation might not work, but the privatised network as it stands definitely does not. I choose to be optimistic. Well, I hope you enjoyed today's video, even if it was a thing that I quickly threw together with minimal research over my morning coffee. I hope it was reasonably coherent at least. If it was, and if you did enjoy it, then please leave a like and you might wish to subscribe for more. Or to be alerted when I make a video backtracking on everything I said here, as the case may be. I would like to thank my donors on Ko-fi, on Patreon, and here on YouTube for your generous support. You are the hired-in rolling stock to my nationalised railway. And I'll see you all again very soon. Cheerio.